Okay, I think we are live. Let's just make sure real quick. Dope. Neat there. And let us double check right here. Full beans. I think we are now live. Zach 420, welcome back. And Zach, I think it was you yesterday that I missed your comment. I saw it just as I was signing off. I think you'd said something extraordinarily nice, and I never got a chance to say thank you. Thank you so much for your incredibly nice words yesterday, man. I hope you're doing great, Zach 420, and I really appreciate you spending your time hanging out with us on this short live stream. Let's do this first bag in your honor, my friend. Let's get this started here. Let me go grab that. Just a moment. Neat. Okay. I'm going to grab that here as I keep promising to do. First bag. And I realize I don't have my bag in here. Excuse me one second. Okay, well, here we go. Number one. Hopefully, the dogs will be nice and chill all around at the moment. I'm sorry if I look a little flush and sweaty. Just getting back from the racquetball courts a little bit ago. Still sweating it out. Well, happy 420 to anybody in the Mountain Time Zone. I realize we just passed it. Happy 420. And Zach, again, this one is for you. Thanks for watching us. I've become obsessed with racquetball recently, like the past 2 months. I'm lucky enough to live next to an outdoor court, which seem to be pretty rare. There don't seem to be a whole lot of them. It's just a public court, and I've been living next to it for like a year. I was like, you know what? I'm finally gonna try this weird thing out, and bought a racket and some balls. And my God, I'm kind of addicted to it. Racquetball is, if you don't know, it is yet another, much like the title would suggest, it is another sport played with a racket. This time, the differentiator between it and badminton or tennis or pickleball or ping pong is that there is no net and there is only one side because you're smacking a ball against a wall and hitting the rebounds off of it. And so it is often played inside in an entirely encased field, like there's a roof, a back wall, of course, a floor, walls on each side, and a wall behind you, too, totally encased in. And you smack the ball real hard, and it goes all around, whips all around. And you try not to die. I don't play indoor racquetball, though, although it sounds way more fun to have even ceiling and a back wall. I play at an outdoor court which has no back wall and no ceiling. So you have to do a lot more running because you're going to have to go get that ball way more often. But my God, do I love it. I guess it's faster than tennis or badminton or pickleball. I mean, it's really fast paced. I don't know why, but I've been playing like an hour a day for 2 months of racquetball, and it's a lot of fun. Um, but I've been doing way more sweating than I've done recently. Zach420 says, I love the streams and you. Happy 420. Well, thanks, man. Right back at you. Happy 420 to you. All right, that is bag number 1 done. Unannounced stream today. So smaller crowd. Don't have anybody up calling for second bag. So Zach, second one will be for you as well. Let's get it started. Nice. Zach asks, how are the dispensary prices these days? He moved to Indiana last year and haven't kept up much. Wonderful question, Zach. And one with an interesting answer. At least I think it is an interesting answer. I'm also Googling Indiana cannabis laws right now. I'm not sure what cannabis states or Indiana's state policy is right now. 2022 legislative session adjourns without any cannabis bills advancing. One of the only 13 states with no effective medical cannabis law and only one of 19 that still imposes jail time for simple possession. Ooh, damn, that does suck, Zach 420. I'm curious also what brought you from Laguna Beach, some people's definition of paradise. A city so nice it got a whole MTV show named after it. What brought you from Laguna Hills in the richest parts of Orange County to Indiana, and really right there in the center of the country, remarkably rural Indiana? And I would imagine one of the most forgotten states. Like, I think Indiana probably gets conflated with Illinois a lot. But that's just me. Oh, and then to answer your question, Zach 420, the dispensary prices here are excellent. They are largely cheaper than they were this time a year ago. The downward price pressure, awkward phrasing. All of the same things that were causing weed's price to continue to go down in California, all of that is still in effect, and means that weed is still running counter to inflation in the US largely, and that prices continue to go down, whereas prices for everything else continue to go up, because we are still experiencing significant benefits year over year in terms of the weed market is young enough now. There's still enough players and competition that it's not matured totally, and that there's still plenty of room for prices to go down. Shh, relax. I would assume that might continue for a little bit still, before everything hits total bottoming out. The only thing that could, I could see that could really destroy that is if that all of California's dispensary prices aren't real, but are instead actually propped up by investor money, which might be happening uh, because it is so hard to break into dispensaries, the legal market to begin with. Um, you have to have a shit ton of capital up front to get in any city in California to open a dispensary. Um, yeah, I could absolutely see the oh, excuse me, totally lost my train of thought. Super capital intensive to begin with, which means that there's a lot of money because investors are obviously involved in this and helping, dispensary owners get the capital necessary to open a dispensary. And then they still have, usually a lot of money to keep the place open and running because they've already got the license. There's a lot of sunk cost fallacy. They're just, hemorrhaging money trying to get the place established. And also people are trying to become the dominant player and they're willing to shed off money at this point to sort of establish themselves as the brand or the dispensary, whatever it may be. So I'm kind of not seriously worried, but there is some part of me that wonders if the reason prices are so low in California is the same reason Uber prices were super low in the year 2015 and 2016. It's that billionaires and millionaires are subsidizing them for now so they can own whatever market they want to own and just, jack up prices once they corner whatever market they are trying to corner. I don't know if that's true. That is just speculation. We've certainly seen it happen in a lot of emerging markets recently. A lot of them, this is happening. So I don't think we would necessarily be totally immune to it. And there is a unbelievable torrent of venture capital around weed right now, which all of those things can lead to these prices that aren't real, meaning they don't reflect the actual cost of the good being sold. Long-winded answer, but it was such a great question. I really appreciate it there, Zach420. Zach said he was actually homeless for about a year, and it's very cheap here, and he's working his way back up. Well, I'm very glad to hear you are doing much better out in Indiana. That is definitely true. Much, much, much cheaper there in the heartland. And I hope you are finding gainful, wonderful employment there in Indiana. And hope you continue to do well, my friend. Thanks so much for watching us. And I'm curious how much you are having to pay for weed if you're still enjoying in a totally 100% black market state. Which I imagine there's got to be quite the premium. Okay. Tony Dace, welcome back, Tony. Good to see you, man. And it looks like we've got Isaac here as well. Welcome back, Isaac. Hope you've still got the farts, my man. Oh, yep. He said just popping in to let you know I farted. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate the info as always, and appreciate you being here. Zach says, are there any brands that piqued your interest recently? I really love fruit edibles. A very cheap edible brand, $9 for 100 milligram gummy. Tiny little thing. It's super hard, super affordable, and not a lot to consume. Relax. Shh. No. Sorry, my dogs are bothering me. Go lie down. Go. No. Sorry, buddy. Go lie down. Okay. Let's get ourselves our third bag going here for Tony, Isaac, and Danny. And then I want to talk about a curious phenomenon. Wow, Zach420, only $75 for a half ounce. Not bad for the state of Indiana. Wow, Thomas McShane, also welcome from Ireland, paying 50 euros for 3.5 grams. Thankfully, the euro is no, that's really bad for you. The euro has parity with the pound right now too, or the euro has parity with the dollar. Is that right, or is that the pound? Which hit parity with the dollar recently, and it was kind of bad. Either way, that's incredibly expensive, Thomas McShane. And I hope you guys in Ireland, you're the green country, the Emerald Tiger. You would think you guys, with your love of green, could get it together and get yourself some weed going. Most of we've got a lot of fans here from Scotland. Not too many I've met from Ireland, but you guys in the UK, just not that Ireland is in the UK. I'm sorry, I know that isn't true. Northern Ireland is, but in the British Isles, I guess it's still Ireland is that in the British Isles, even though it is not in the UK or part of Britain. I don't understand it very well. And I'm just rambling, but you guys, let's get on it, man. Your government, especially in Ireland, you guys have the Prime Minister Ireland. Is it president or yes, it's the president, not the Prime Minister, who has the Burmese mountain dog. Is that correct? The beautiful, beautiful Burmese mountain dog. And your president is such a delightful, wonderful looking dude. Very cool. Thanks for hanging out with us, even when weeds is as expensive as it is. Gonzo Baptist says, super hot out today. You're telling me. Just telling people I'm getting back from racquetball. That's why I'm all schvetzy and red. Well, thank you for the information, Thomas McShane, and the education. Super appreciate it. I'll get it right one day. And it looks like, oh my dog's got herself a chew toy now. I think my software will block out the squeaking. Maybe. Looks like we got Justin here as well, and Eric. So let's go get ourselves a dab going for all of our new friends here. So this dab is going to be for Toady, Thomas, Isaac, Danny, and Eric. Oh my God. Wow. Horty wet cab girl. Let's do something real quick and Stephanie, welcome. So glad I could see. So glad that you made it. I also just added a couple more mods to the list. I think I just added randomly, not randomly. You guys have been here forever, quality people. I knew there were more to add, but I threw Gonzo Baptist and Tony and Eric moderator statuses. So feel free to. I'm not sure if Horny Webcam Girl is spam or not. Anybody's allowed to feel free to come in and make perverted messages, and that is always encouraged and even adored here, just as long as it's not actually spam. I will tolerate all levels of profanity as long as it isn't personally offensive or targeting a group or the same rules that apply for society writ large. But we just don't want anybody spamming us with any actual products. That's not what we're here about. Dab time. Right, I know better than to make it super huge. Otherwise, this stream would be, 30 minutes of coughing. So not bad. I know that's not going to show up. Some gelato. Here we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. All right. Thanks, everybody. Not too bad. Not too bad. Chat. Back to chat. Where was I? Justin says he wishes he lived in a state like Colorado, where an ounce can be cheaper than $100 if you find the right deal. $100 for an ounce, no matter the state, is always a fantastic deal. I have seen some of those here in Southern California. I would say without looking too hard, I could probably buy an ounce for $80 somewhere within an hour of me, without trying too hard. But I know there are pockets of the country where especially flour is even cheaper. I've got a buddy who lives in Portland. It seems like there you can find even better deals. All right. I want to go back briefly to a comment that Zach420 had brought up that I had found interesting. It made me wish I was still writing for publications so I could sort of address it to a bigger audience. I don't know. Because I think it seems totally underreported and maybe even undiagnosed totally. And the only reason I was privy to it, knew of this disparity, is because I had reason to be in East Tennessee not too long ago. And I just happened to see every single business that I passed. I mean, especially if they were in the service industry at all, or retail, restaurants, again, any retail shops, fast food, grocery, all of those things. This was in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I've been keeping an eye on it ever since. And the trend seems to have only gotten weirder, more divergent, and it makes even less sense to me. But as I was driving through, noticing all these signs, the exact same job in Knoxville, Tennessee, a place that has a cost of living that is maybe 50% of what it is here in Long Beach. In terms of things like rent, would probably be more than that even. However, the exact same job in Knoxville would pay more, and sometimes quite a bit more, than the job in either Long Beach or Los Angeles. For example, I saw Starbucks is in East Tennessee paying $16.75 an hour, and I see them in Long Beach or still proudly advertising our minimum wage of 15 to 25. Same was true with places like KFC, East Tennessee, a place where you could get a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment for probably, easily less than $1,000. Easily less than $1,000 a month. The KFC would pay, I don't know, $17 an hour. Here in the Southern California, cost of living so much more, not just rent, food, pretty much every metric, of course, fuel, and that job would pay $15.25 an hour, our minimum wage. It's like when Southern California hit the minimum wage of $15.25, they said they're done. Like, they're like, well, they got what they wanted, so we're not going to offer anybody any more than this because we found it outrageous. And they like anchored themselves as a culture. We've anchored themselves to that number and saying like, these sons of bitches fought so long and they hard for it here. They've got it. We're not going to, now we're not going to budge. But in other places where there was never that like idea of, well, we're going to get a $15 minimum wage. We're going to get a $15 minimum wage. So they never anchored themselves to that particular number. Now they're free to think of whatever number they want as a salary or as an hourly wage. And even though their minimum wage is literally less than half of what it is here in Southern California, their actual wages usually routinely more. And I do not see this being talked about at all. The fact that you can go get an Amazon warehouse job, and not just in Knoxville, but like in more like the suburban parts of East Tennessee. You can go get an Amazon warehouse job making more money in suburban East Tennessee than you can in urban Southern California. And there is something incredibly wrong with that. And also just bizarrely underreported. And it seems to me more people should actually, God forbid, I hate suggesting this because yikes, but even more people should be leaving California and going to cities in the Midwest or the South where they can get better returns, better wages for the same job, and that money will go much, 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 much further. The problem is you do have to live in those areas, but it's kind of insanity. Thankfully, this is just something I'm keeping like, an interested eye on, and don't have to F with that rat race too much. But for people who are in the making minimum wage here in Southern California, you are getting fucked because you can go do that same exact job in a place that has half the cost of living and likely get paid more to do it. Now, if I guess things go incredibly sideways very quickly, all of those jobs in those areas may cut pay tremendously or lay off people at exaggerated rates. And in Southern California, you do have an actual minimum wage that is $15.25, unlike the other places like East Tennessee. It's still the federal. Tennessee is still $7.25 an hour. Anyways, just an interesting thing. Not sure why it's happening. My guess is it really does have something to do with this like anchoring effect, but it is killing people here in Southern California, and they are getting screwed if you're working near the minimum, near minimum wage. Okay, so I'm real sorry about that long rant. Let's get caught up on chat and get our third bag going. Thomas asks if I work in the weed industry. I do not work in the weed industry. never have. No qualms with the weed industry. I would not do this if I did, or it depends what I would do in the weed industry, but okay. Thank you everyone for taking care of our friend. What was her name again? Horny Webcam Girl, and all our new moderators. If anybody doesn't want to be one who got one, let me know. I hope it's no pressure. And also, if I didn't give you one and you really want one, and also let me know. Eric says, same for a gram of concentrates. There's just no competition. It's a highly managed system. He's referring, and I missed his comment earlier. He says he pays $65 for an eighth here in Illinois. And I had heard that Illinois is very, very stringent with their requirements, and everything is highly regulated and prices are more uniform. Which is definitely not the case here, even though it looked like it was going to go that way for a while. I think many dispensaries now sort of skirt a lot of laws or things that were put in place early on because people don't really care nor notice. That leads to, I think there were probably a lot of price controls and price constraints and things that prevented you from, I don't want to speak too much about things I don't know exactly. Anyways, thank you though for the data, Eric, on Illinois' prices. Charlie, welcome, Charlie. Good to see you, man. And King Yeti says, welcome, both of you. And King Yeti says 100K is the high end of poverty outside of being homeless in LA. Well, I'm not sure if it's that bad. It's not easy. And while $15 an hour might have sounded like a dream come true even 5 or 6 years ago, it's a lot has happened in the past couple that makes that no longer so I don't know, sparkling or even desirable. Now many states, their actual wage is higher than our minimum wage. Zach 420 says that's nuts. A lot of our places pay here 9 to 11 for a basic job. And Zach says the only place he says that he can make $13.50 as an hour is a manager at Taco Bell. The same job he was making in California was making $22. Well, that is good to know. That Indiana still. So the place I was referring to is not a totally rural area. It was I guess the third largest city in Tennessee. And there's also a university there, which can help. But of cities of roughly that size in that area, I think Tennessee largely across the board. I think Georgia is pretty similar. Florida, I think, probably even has higher wages. But I guess there are certainly pockets in these states that aren't this way. There would be more rural pockets where that none of the wage pressures would exist. But in the areas that we're growing already, yes, they are the wages are higher than they are here in Southern California for equivalent jobs. And Zach, if the goal is to make money, as quickly as possible. If it's not, if there's nothing else in Indiana keeping you there, and if there is, I hope you stay. But if not, I would say look for opportunities elsewhere, because right now I think there are incredible opportunity costs to not moving places if you are in the if you're in a low income bracket, because wages are so disparate across the country and cost of living is so absolutely just, totally upside down in different places. There's no consistency that you can find. If you do a little bit of research, you could be find yourself in a very good position by moving to a city with good wages and also not incredibly high rents. There are not a lot of them, but they do exist, and they especially exist right now when people aren't looking, because I don't think people have noticed yet the wage discrepancies in areas, because it exists. But it's, I think the old assumptions are still in everybody's head. You move to New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco to get the best wage, and that's where, but also where the highest rent is. I think those things are changing very quickly. And for those that are savvy enough to sort of jump aboard that trend, they can, do pretty well for themselves. Again, not encouraging you to go move to another state, but maybe put that thought in the back of your mind if you ever feel so inclined. Okay. I haven't done any of this bag. This bag is going to be for, I think we didn't have Charlie or King Yeti before. Welcome. Oh, and BVD, who just popped in. So glad to see all of you guys. This third bag will be for you. Justin says 15 is still not enough, and that if he gives Zach the advice that if you are a manager, you deserve more. Justin could not agree with that sentiment more. Please don't interpret my like befuddlement or like confusion at the low wages in California as sour grapes for those who are making more in other places. I wish everybody made more everywhere. I don't understand when the idea that, oh man, somebody is doing better than me in some other place, and then not wishing that upon them, because generally speaking, you want everybody to be making more, especially at the lower places, and then sort of those pressures apply uniformly. I mean, if not slowly and unevenly, and everybody does better off as a result. Well, not the tippy top, but the overwhelming majority of folks do. I don't even, maybe this gives you some kind of insight into my head. I got into a mild internet argument a while ago with some people online that were mad that Facebook wasn't going to dock their employees' pay if they moved away from San Francisco and worked remotely. And I couldn't understand that reasoning. Sure, they get paid a lot of money, but they are still, in comparison to the shareholders of Facebook or the executives at Facebook, quite impoverished. They make way more than I do, a Facebook engineer, but they still don't make as much as they should, not nearly as much as they should. I mean, especially if you consider it as just a ratio of employees to company value. Back in the 70s, it was GE employed, 200 something thousand people, and each employee was worth roughly $500,000 or something if you divide it out. Now it's Google has 20,000 employees and is worth $1.5 trillion, and each employee is worth $20 million. And, you know, even though they might get paid handsomely, they're not getting paid nearly as equivalently as somebody in the 70s as their value to a company. So I think everybody should get paid more. I think even the people who moved away from Silicon Valley to go live super cheaply in the middle of nowhere should retain their ridiculous salaries, because everybody should get paid more. The only people who shouldn't get paid more are basically less than, I mean, even though there are many, 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 many millions of people in this schema that would get more money than they need, maybe even tens of millions of people would get more money than they need. If you just made, say, 1 million people get way less money, it would be beneficial for everybody. And we have to accept that, like, sometimes I don't want to say everything. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of different economic theories here, but yeah. As Justin was saying, $15 is still not enough. To the people in Knoxville who are working at their local Exxon Mobil gas station and getting paid $19, good for you. I say congrats to you. And to the people in Southern California who are making $15.25 at their Exxon, I say to you, you deserve to be making twice as much. You know, I know sour grapes at the ones that are doing way better off. All right, finish this bag. Pablo Lopez says, heck yeah, thank God. Weed Jesus. Heck yeah, thank God weed got legalized. Well, for some of us, unfortunately, not true for all of us. Our buddy Zach 420 here lives in one of those, how many did I read? 11 states that have basically 0, 100% no either recreational or legalization efforts at all. But for the vast majority of the country, well, I don't know what the actual percentage would break down. Texas fucks a lot of people. It would screw those proportions up because Texas is still super illegal. A lot of people live in Texas. Zach 420 says, in regards to his job in Indiana, says it's because jobs here offer more for you to move out here. That's why they screw you over. They make promises and maybe pay that premium for a few months before it drops back to like 12. That is terrible. That is unethical. Any employer that does that should be shamed. Frankly, that kind of behavior is predatory and should be illegal. Good luck in convincing an Indiana legislator to do anything pro-labor. But yeah, that is predatory. It's absolutely predatory. And there is no excuse for a company hiring somebody at a inflated salary, getting them to move to a place, and then pulling the rug from under them. The only reason it's not considered fraud is because it is a business, and because businesses, for some reason, get to commit fraud now routinely and just gets called course of business. Whereas if the inverse were to be true routinely, it would be a criminal offense. Justin says he lives in Wisconsin, an hour away from a dispensary in Illinois, and won't go down there because of the prices. More power to you, man. More power to you. Are the cheeseheads pretty big? Is the Venn diagram of cheeseheads and potheads pretty close, or not a lot of Wisconsinites that are fellow stoners? I don't know if I've met anybody on stream from Wisconsin yet. And I also hope to God I have not forgotten another WI state, especially one bordering Illinois. Wisconsin, baby. What a weird state. I mean, in a good way. Some of those, you guys in your Midwest states, highly idiosyncratic. Like, I mean, every state has their own quirks, but your Wisconsins, your Michigans, even your Minnesotas and Iowas to a degree, you guys got some real funky shit going on, and I like it. Like, I'm down for it. But congrats to the Brett Favre. That's the only person I know from Wisconsin. Does he still throw football for Wisconsin? No idea. Is Brett Favre still a player? Does he still play football? Is he still alive? No idea. I don't know the last time I even heard that name. Do people still watch NASCAR? Speaking of non sequiturs about sports, maybe it's just because I moved away from East Tennessee, but it just dawned on me randomly the other day. Like, I don't know the last time I heard about fucking NASCAR. I mean, they're just less people out here who watch it, sure, but does Jeff Gordon still exist? Is Jeff Gordon still alive? Like, that's a name I heard every day, multiple times a day. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, and I've not heard him multiple times a day for 20 years, and then haven't heard blissfully in a long time. Jeff Gordon, I hope you're okay. Dale Earnhardt, rest in peace. There were a lot of people crying at my middle school the weekend after Dale Earnhardt died. A lot of people crying. Not as many as there was a yearly tradition at the middle school I went to, Porter Middle School, in Blount County, Tennessee, where the local Hell House would come in and scare all of the girls every year around Halloween. Hell houses are Christian haunted houses, which means that they are places to go shame young women for choices that they may or may not have made or may eventually make. It's like macabre. I've never actually been to one, but I've watched an excellent documentary, and I, of course, had friends who went to them all the time. Like a girl dying from an abortion, or like a boy getting AIDS from having premarital sex and dying, but staged like a haunted house, and they were like, to moralize. And every year when the haunted or the Hell House would come through, the week it was there was every day a new wave of middle school girls who would come in bawling, being convinced that they were going to hell, and that they lived sinful, awful lives. And this is some fucked up shit. That's some classic ass fucked up shit, man. East Tennessee. Boy, do I miss it. All right, let's go do another dab. I'm so far behind here. Maybe not. I'm going to speed around a couple of things on chat, and then we'll go do this next dab. Ooh, Gonzo Baptist says he was working for $9 an hour in Wisconsin as a cashier. Ouch! I worked my entire college career for $5.25 an hour. I think was the minimum wage at the time. As a desk assistant. I was also, believe it or not, I'm sure this is going to surprise some of you guys. I was a lead game advisor for 6 months at GameStop. I worked at GameStop when I was in college randomly. Don't really know why I did it. Quintessential love-hate. Looking back on it, had some really fun memories, some great coworkers, but my God, what an exploitative, awful job. Real quick example of a thing I loved at GameStop as the idea that existed back then was positive shrink. I know that's a contradiction in terms, classic oxymoron, which meant if people were trading in games, a bunch of games, and at the end of the day, you came up with more games than you had recorded actually inventory in actual trades, that was a good metric. It was unexplained what that meant, what that was supposed to be. But if you read between the lines, it was like, oh, if you are take in games from people and don't give them credit for it, you earn a good point at GameStop. It was never explained that way. Of course, never, ever, ever. It was explained in very sort of mechanical terms, as if it just were to happen by happenstance, but total non sequitur. We've got a lot of those, which means we've had a lot of weed. And I did that for minimum wage in college for almost a year, but only a little bit as a lead game advisor, which meant nothing. But it meant that I got paid $5.75 an hour. I hate talking about payment. I hate money. I really just hate money. Hate the concept of it. But that's also a topic not for here or there. Looks like we've got a lot of people still talking about how awful our wage system is. Here. Sorry, Gonzo Baptist, about your experience. Zach says he's currently looking for a job with relocation assistance. He's got to get out of the cycle living day to day and not even paycheck to paycheck. I wish you the absolute best, man. I would say keep looking. I think there are opportunities out there right now, more so than really ever before, certainly in my adult lifetime, to cut out an interesting, to find a great place, somewhere where wages are high and rent isn't that extremely high, and that you can do more than just survive. But it might take some research and some looking. And I know who has the time for that shit. Sorry, everybody, for the slow responses. I'm actually going to go do this dab for real. Keep promising it. Okay. Oh, I forgot to see if we have anybody new here in chat. Chicago Nava. Welcome, Chicago Nava. Thanks so much for joining us. Super appreciate you. I just saw you here in chat. This dab will be for you. Nice. Cool beans. All right. I'm gonna just skip down here to the bottom. We'll catch up in a moment. I heard a sound and I don't want to miss whatever it was. I don't know if somebody donated something and I certainly don't want to not recognize if somebody did something. Thank you, whoever or whatever caused my software to give me a ding noise. That was incredibly kind. Oh, people are telling me that Brett Favre is way too old and retired. He sponsors jeans now. Well, that makes sense. Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon is married with kids. Good for you, Jeff Gordon. So NASCAR still exists, it looks like. BBD says, I remember being a kid and seeing the 9/11 attack happen. I will never forget. RIP. So many good souls. That horror house sounds like where you go if you don't repent. Yes, that horror house was again the Hell House I was talking about in East Tennessee, which is not a real haunted house. It is a Christian haunted house that tells young boys and young girls, but primarily young girls, that if they do anything that resembles anything that might come across as pleasure, they will spend eternity suffering the most unimaginable pain and torture inflicted upon them as an appropriate level of punishment for jerking off or taking birth control. And I gotta say I agree with that. I think we gotta nip this kind of, that kind of stuff in the bud, and a lifetime of again, the most horrendous and god-awful and abominable, painful torture into infinity should befall you for those things. Seems equitable, and seems like the guy who comes up with that kind of scale. Cool dude. Should listen to him. He's got some wise ideas. My dog is so anxious, and so just this stream, 2 stuffed animals have died in the hour since we began. She's an old dog. She used to be able to take down multiple stuffed animals as a young one all the time. But she's like 12 and a half. She's down to like a stuffed animal every 2 or 3 months, but it's carnage beneath me. There is synthetic cotton and chewed up squeakers. It's a bloodbath. Okay. BBD, as your comment for 9/11, I certainly remember to 100% age myself. It's an honors algebra 1 in my freshman year of high school. Shout out. Boy, yeah. But let's skip past that hyper downer for now. Alex McCool says, Alex McCool waves from Poland. Well, welcome so much, Alex McCool from Poland. Glad you could join us. Alex, is it possible you've hung out with us before? I seem like I remember the name, but I'm not sure I remember a friend from Poland. Either way, very happy for you to join us. I was just talking about your wonderful country just this past weekend, and how Poland is like the most underappreciated country in Europe in terms of its importance to European history, and also Poland for the majority of Europe's history was one of the key power players and just so totally influential. And I mean, Warsaw was uh, a tremendous place of culture and economic might and military might, and we just don't give Poland the respect it deserves, either in its contemporary form and you know, how important it is to the global order, or nor especially Poland. I mean, has been fucking shit up for a long time, and I mean that in the best and worst way. But we just, you know, France and Prussia get all the credit. We talk about Italy for some stupid fucking reason, um, all the time. Really, let's talk about overinflated in terms of European history. Well, I mean, other than, you know, Rome, that part, modern. Sorry to any Italian fans. I took a lot of Italian history in college, and it's not a history that's like filled with moments of contemporary Italian history. Is not is not a history of glory. I'll leave it at that. Um, boy, that might be the most controversial thing I have said on a stream yet. But boy, what is coming together, Italy. Sorry for a weird detour into the most banal of European history. Already a pretty boring subject. Shit, where am I at? Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm just behind on chat. I keep saying that and not catching up because I keep getting higher. Let's go do this fourth bag while we start at this comment from Danny310 says, do you decarb your cannabis and smoke it? Well, you do decarb your cannabis itself when you're smoking it. That the smoking process is what decarboxylates it. That heat is what the process is. Now, that's why, you know, just burning it does it, vaping it, anything. It's like 320, I forget what the actual 270. There's a specific temperature. I should know it. I'm high. Forgive me. At which, you know, THCA becomes THC and your body starts being able to process it as the mild psychoactive substance it is. But I do, however, Danny, for some reason, I do actually re-decarb my AVB. I haven't done it in a while because my butter maker broke 6 months ago. I have so much AVB, like probably 6 ounces of dehydrated volcano stuff right now. Maybe more. Actually, I would say closer to 10 ounces probably of decarb stuff. And that I'm just sitting on. I will decarb it though again before I turn it into butter or whatever. Because you can take your AVB here, and it is already decarbed because it's already been vaped. But it could be 100% psychological. I'm not sure why it would be. Maybe it doesn't heat 100% evenly in the volcano, or any kind of process doesn't heat it 100% evenly, or doesn't extract all of the THC from it. So I do decarb it again in my Ardent Nova, which is just a device for decarbing weed before putting it in, infusing it in butter or whatever. Danny asks, "Am I high, or was Gonzo not a mod earlier?" You and Eric knocked it out of the park with his response, which was both. Shit, I would make Danny a mod right now if I could, but I'm no longer on the YouTube page. I'm now on my software, not looking at that chat, looking at a different one. Danny, remind me next time, and I will mod you up. Wait. This is how it always happens. I think I did it actually, Danny 310. Thank you, by the way. You'll be the best. Gonzo Baptist says he wants to go back to Wisconsin. He wants to live there. It's so pretty, but there is so much money to be made here in California. If you know where to look. Although if you are working the lowest, if you're working basically at minimum wage level, there are better opportunities for you out there. Other places. However, if you're in a specific field, something like weed delivery, yes, California, there is still a gold rush here. Always going to be a bit of a gold rush in California for something. I mean, no. Barking. Alex says, Poland is a pretty important country. It was a key country in World War II. Yes, and not just in World War II, Alex. Poland was you know better than me, being Polish, and certainly I don't want to be the one to explain. You know your history infinitely better than I do. And I'm sorry if I came across as, I just wanted to express that you guys just, at least here in America, you guys, the Polish don't get their due for how historically important of a country Poland was, and still is. But, you know, we give those French and Germans and Italians all the continental European credit and attention. But the Polish, man, you guys were some bad fucking asses throughout history. Never played you in Civilization, though. I'm never a religious victory kind of fan. And that's the way you gotta go if you want to go Polish. Eric says, BBD and Eric both talking about my dog who has destroyed so many stuffed animals, so many dog toys. Old bitch. Because she's a female dog. And I'm just going to go way up here in chat to Radio Hitman. Welcome, Radio Hitman. So glad you could join us. Says, how long do you take your tolerance breaks for? Every other day? How long do you take your tolerance breaks for? Every other day, 2 days, 3 days? Talk to me. Well, Radio Hitman, when I do take them, I try to take at least a 48-hour tolerance break. If I'm doing like a serious tolerance break, 2 days usually helps quite a bit. I usually like to do 2 times a year, a whole week at least of tolerance break. And it hasn't happened in 3 years probably, but every good once in a while I'll take a whole month off. So pandemic really threw a wrench in that, like it did for a lot of us. But I try to take plenty of breaks here and there, couple of weeks every year, couple 48 hour, a 48 hour, maybe every month or so. That might be a little off, but something similar to that. And find them to be both incredibly helpful, useful, and just good to do, even without the added benefits of, yeah, it gets you more high. It's just nice to take a break from anything from a while and change the mindset, um, reevaluate. But that is my answer to your great question, Radio Hitman. Thanks for watching. And he follows it up and he says, have you tried the new sun rock thing, which is supposed to be twice the potency of moon rocks? I have not tried sun rocks. Moon rocks was mostly always like it was always definitely just a marketing gimmick, because moon rocks was, anybody could use the term because nobody was copywriting things, still really can't federally. Yeah, you'd find all kinds of different things labeled as moon rocks. I don't really see them much at all anymore, but the concept was they were hugely popular for a while. Very potent, high THC nuggets of weed that have been like dipped in oil and then rolled in keef and stuff, like just weed, but glitter bombed almost. And they were fun. They were cool to do, but always kind of a gimmick. So I assume Sun Rocks is going to be, they figured out some way to, it's going to be the Taco Bell 18-layer burrito of weed nuggets. It's going to be a live resin shell with a rosin inner molten core, or outer core, and then the nucleus is what they'll call it, because it's the sun, might as well. They change all the metaphors. The outside would be the corona. It would be a live resin corona with a thick rosin interior, all leading to the mantle. The mantle, that's Earth geography, whatever the inner core of the sun is called. And then finally, you've got the actual nucleus there, the nugget, the weed. Just replace your hydrogen and helium with THC, and you're good to go. Eric says a sous vide cooker doubles as a fine can of butter maker. I've heard that before, Eric, and I may have to investigate that more. That you use the sous vide method to make your edibles, or to make your butter. Sous vide is the one where you basically immerse a heating element into a sort of small pot of water or small receptacle of water, then like vacuum seal something and put that in the water, and then is that sous vide? I'm not a gourmand. I'm not a foodie at all. Never have been, very likely never will be. Probably can tell from watching Wheats. Done a lot of edible reviews. Don't have the language or the experience, or frankly, the interest in describing food all that well. I'm definitely more of a live to eat than eat to live kind of person. Food is food. I could eat granola bars probably forever, but only live till 45. I don't know why I just told everybody. Oh, that was some good old. What were we talking about? Food. Can't remember. Sorry, guys, if I have missed all of your wonderful comments. My total bad if I've skipped them. They were all great. 100% great, I'm sure. But I missed them all. Well, welcome, my Spanish-speaking friend. I wish I read or spoke better Spanish than I do. Un poquito, that's overstating it. 4 years of Spanish in college sure amounted to a lot. Um, ah, BBD says there is also an actual sun rock strain. Check it out. I remember when people were making moon rocks with wax and keef. To look into that actual sun rock strain. I like that the contradiction in terms of a sun rock. Ain't no, I was gonna say ain't no rock on the sun, but iron. I mean, it's not rock. It's really. I was gonna say it's more of a liquid, but that's not even true. It's more of a plasma. It's really just a big old ball of iron gumbo with its yeah. Boy, don't need to go too much into. We spent a lot of time talking about the physics of the sun and stars, and I'm out of my element. Much like iron is out of the is out of its element, and because it's not hydrogen or helium, it's heavier. It's not hydrogen forming into helium, making energy. It's a byproduct, and it sinks. So it's out of its element too. I think we did it. We'll call that a successful. Tom, hey, welcome, man. And also, if we have any Spanish language speakers, would somebody please interpret for us and apologize to our friend for my lack of Spanish language skills? Oh, looks like BBD is already doing that. Thank you. Alex McCool says, it is, honestly, but honestly, it's what I've been enjoying the most lately. It lasts forever if you're doing it right. I don't have any idea what that is in reference to. My bad. Skipped over that comment for sure. Sorry about that. Radio Hitman says the Joey Diaz podcast that aired on YouTube today, he talks about a new strain of edible that is really good. I'll have to watch it again and get the exact name and website, but he gives it out. Please do. Thank you. Just a fun bit of like YouTube analytics and just an example of how insanely influential this Joey Coco Diaz is. One day back in like February, March or something, Joey Coco Diaz mentioned the name of a edible that I had reviewed like 4 years ago or something on a show he was on, Moon Bar, and that day that video got like 10 times as many views as all of the other videos put together, and remain that way for like a week, and still randomly to this day people come and say like, oh, Joey Coco Diaz sent me here from this random podcast or YouTube appearance from something months and months and months ago. And it gets them so excited they'll search YouTube for the name of the product, find my ancient ass review of it, and say, Joey Coco Diaz sent me here. Gravel, welcome, man. Gravel, so good to see you. It looks like we've got both Gravel and Tom A and Dr. Smegma Jones here as well. Gravel, I'm sorry I missed you earlier, man. Totally my bad. We're going to have to do one final dab. And then, unfortunately, I've got to bounce, but I've got to get a dab in for Gravel, Tom A, and, of course, Dr. Smegma Jones. 3 of our favorites. And Dr. Smegma Jones says, I was with my girlfriend at the park and she decided it was time to breastfeed. When you need to do it, you need to do it. A child needs to eat. I hope no one felt any shame. I hope little Mary Jane and uh, your wonderful wife had no problems or were not harassed at all. Your fictional family deserves for this to not be stigmatized anymore. But I think there's going to be a but here. Dr. Smegma Jones goes on. He says, I honestly don't understand why everyone was staring and recording her. It's 2022. Like, what the fuck? Come on. I was just thirsty. Dr. Smegma Jones. Dr. Smegma Jones. Dr. SJ, he does it again. We always think we're going to get it. We always think the punchline, I think I'm going to find it coming in. I think I know where the twist is coming. And then each time he pulls the rug out from underneath me. Hats off to you again, Dr. SJ. And hats off to your wonderful and very, very tolerant wife. And it is 2022. Let the husbands breastfeed. I've always said. But thank you again, Dr. SJ. Delightful. Your stories remind me of, I think, the greatest joke writer that I know of to today, currently. Very last digression as we do our last dab. We're going to talk about jokes very quickly. I'm going to do a dab for, keep hitting my desk, making the camera wobble. Sorry, guys. Tom A. Gravel, excuse me. Dr. SJ, this will be for you, and of course, for everybody as well who's been with us. Let's go do a final dab and talk about jokes and comedy and the best writer in the biz. After this. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I just saw Eric's comment about Dr. SJ, and I love it. Last topic. Jokes. I love jokes. Jokes are the best, but I've watched too much media. My brain is ruined forever. You give me any kind of setup, and it's very, very easy for me to see the punchline coming in so many contexts, especially in the good old stand-up routine. So hard not to see the whole bit ahead of time once the setup's there. I just have a hard time not finishing the punchline. I just seen too many jokes, seen every kind of take on everything. So I always find that a joke, what a joke should be is the art of surprise. Like, it should be something that is totally unexpected, but makes 100% perfect sense after the fact. That is what an ideal joke is. It shouldn't be, you should never be able to see it coming, but after the punchline has been delivered, you should feel kind of dumb, as if like a puzzle was just pulled on you. and that you missed the solution, an easy solution, but that you could have never done it somehow. Like, the perfect joke again is something that you never, ever, ever could have seen coming, but after it is delivered to you, you're like, how did I not get this? And so I think the best person at that is, I think you would call him shock comedian Anthony Jeselnik. He has a couple of Netflix specials. I think he's got the best actual setup and punchline biz in the game. As hard as I try, I mean, and you have to have a tolerance for incredibly vulgar, crass, intentionally offensive comedy, like as bad as it gets. But he's a wizard when it comes to telling jokes. In that you even think, I mean, the wheels start spinning in my head, and I'm like, I know where this setup is going to lead us. And then he pulls something out of his hat, the most raunchy, perverted, awful, disgusting rabbit out of a hat, but it's there. Each punchline is perfection in that it is that quintessential, just it blindsides you, but then you're like, how did I not see that coming? How did I not see this train about to hit me? Or in the case of an Anthony Jeselnik joke, a dead baby. Because he has lots of those jokes, but very fresh takes on very dead babies. And that, guys, is just going to be our cherry on top. The Planners Guy, I'm sorry. We're going to have to say goodbye too soon. But I hope we should... we'll see you next time. I should be back tomorrow, guys, after our review premieres. Maybe we can talk more comedy then. Planners Guy, we should plan a session in the future, especially if you're going to keep resurrecting on me. Have a wonderful day, guys.